Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton,
and I'm Chris Kirkpatrick.
And I was gonna do a flashy little intro, like it's Sunday night. You know what that means, but I forgot to do it.
You say that every week. You say that every week, and still, it's the same intro.
I got so used to it even back when I was doing it on my own. I was like, "Hello, everyone, and welcome to." I got this rhythm going with that intro, and now it's 2 years later almost, and I'm still doing the same thing.
It's very Saturday Night Live news segment-ish, right? That's how it feels to me.
I kind of copy some other podcasts. There's a group of people that do a podcast. Some of Kevin Smith's friends growing up, and their show is called Tell 'em Steve Dave. And they hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Tell 'em Steve Dave. And then they introduce themselves. And that's kind of where I got that from. But then I've seen other shows that come on live, like television shows and stuff like Saturday Night Live, like live from New York. I don't know. But we've already got comments. Who is this? Hello. Hi there, catching you on my ride home. I don't know who it is because this is someone watching in the Facebook group. Because for some reason, Facebook group comments won't show us the names right away, and we can't reply to them in the comments. But that's fine. We got people from Facebook, our Facebook page, our group, and YouTube all right now watching.
Yeah.
So hello to everybody.
I was gonna say right when we started that I bumped into somebody at church today who told me that they're watching the podcast. So whether they're watching us live or whether they're catching us on the recordings later on, people are watching and liking what we're doing. So that's always good positive feedback.
I have to try to remember to behave. It's like when you start saying people from church said, and I'm like,
you're like, yeah.
This not last, but this episode tonight might be a little because we've been going on this theme of we're showing Facebook comments from our group.
Right.
This week I've only got one post, but I have a bunch of comments on that post because I thought it was so funny that, and we got other stuff to talk about like Ghostbusters and everything, which I'm excited about.
Well, we are an adult group, right? Live for dinner, great. Good to have you on, Corey.
What's for dinner, Corey? Pizza? Northwood Pizza? No, I feel like we haven't mentioned them in a while, so.
Northwood is a little Northwood Pizza is still a little bit far for Corey to go for a regular Sunday night.
Yeah. Before we get into the show, I want to go ahead and throw our stuff up. Facebook.com/Between a Pot and a Hard Place, which you could be seeing the show live right now. On Twitter, we have @Pot and Hard Place, @Stephen_Colton, @CJ_Kirk1979, and our great. I was going to say our great Mark Guggenheim. We don't own him, but the great Mark Guggenheim who supports this show, and on YouTube as well, Between a Pot and a Hard Place.
I feel like whenever we go and put that up, every week we get more and more subscribers onto our YouTube. I feel like if you're watching us right now, and if you have not yet, subscribe to us on YouTube, take literally 30 seconds. Go on YouTube, type in Between a Pod and a Hard Place, quickly hit that subscribe button. It'll make our day, and you'll be able to keep up on our content every week when it drops. So, hey, do that. We really appreciate the love and support.
I was going to say like a late Black Friday special. I could send every subscriber $1. Just an envelope with $1 in it. Wouldn't it be something like pay 50-something cent to mail a penny? Send me postage.
I work at a school and we send out report cards, and even just the postage to send that out is ridiculously expensive. You'd be better just sending it out digitally. Here's your digital penny.
Listening on my way back home from work.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Danny.
Thank you. Yeah. That's another thing too. Like people, I really want to get back into the audio stuff. I know we started originally as audio only, and we kind of are fans of the video format because we could throw up pictures and comments. I really do want to start getting back into the audio only versions, just for the people that aren't able or don't want to sit and watch either on a screen. I watched our show back many times on my TV through YouTube apps.
Yeah.
And it's so weird watching myself on a TV, and I'm like, ugh. I'm gonna start wearing a mask every week. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, I've watched the Jordan Elsass video a few times, and I was watching, some of the new Mark Guggenheim clips that Corey has been putting up on YouTube. And I want to say thank you to Corey for like taking the reins on that and saying, hey,
Yes.
yeah, I'll put them up.
He's been
Because
doing
honestly, I was kind of lacking a little bit. I was like, oh, I lost track. There were all the Mark Guggenheim episodes or clips from his episode, and then a lot of clips from Alex Collins coming up. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I have all this to post. Hey, Corey, you want to do it? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Because then he doesn't have to send them to me, and I don't have to download the files and then do all that. And
right. And
it
gosh,
works.
Corey is just so good when it comes to the techie side anyway. Might as well let him stay in his lane. So
better at watching live podcasts. See, I like watching myself. I mean, yeah, it's easier to listen if you're on a jog or driving or something like that. But what I do with YouTube, I don't have YouTube Premium. They keep after me like, oh, do you want to try it for 1 month for free? I'm like, no.
Right.
I tried it once for 3 months, and I was like, this is nice. You close your phone and still have the audio playing, which is the one feature I would want. I don't care about the ads as much, but being able to have it running in the background on a phone is amazing. But I'm not going to pay $15 a month just for that feature.
No, I'm pretty cheap. I'm pretty cheap in that regard myself.
I mean, if you let us pay like $1 a month, then sure. Which, by the way, I don't know if anybody out there likes Hulu or is thinking about trying Hulu, and they're not a sponsor or anything. I'm actually a fan. Like, it's one of those cheesy things. But really, for now, I thought yesterday was the last day, but apparently it's until Monday. Hulu is doing a Black Friday special right now where you can get the regular tier with ads, which is a bummer, but hey, 99 cents a month for 12 months. And I just subscribed to that myself a couple of days ago because like 99 cents a month, come on. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
And they don't bill you all up front either. They bill you monthly. So your bill with tax for the month is like $1.47 for a month of Hulu. I haven't watched Hulu in a while. The only thing I've watched in the last couple of days are old Mr. Bean episodes. I love Mr. Bean. Rowan Atkinson is like amazing.
Right.
Something about his style of comedy is just but he speaks sometimes, but without having to speak, you can get that point across and tell that story, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mime without the makeup. So, which is great. One of my favorites. Yeah.
I was thinking Mr. Bean is sort of a Charlie Chaplin kind of character. You know what I mean? He's goofy, off the wall, but really more of a physical comedy, right?
Yeah. I mean, so many of the sketches he does. I mean, you're looking back, like as a kid, I don't know if I remember it right, but I remember watching reruns of Mr. Bean on HBO back when it was a basic cable channel.
Right.
Before it was a premium thing. And I always wondered why he dropped in. You notice the opening, it's a spotlight shining on a dark alleyway, and he drops in and gets up and runs away. And today I saw it again, and I was like, wait a minute, Mr. Bean's an alien. Because how else would he drop from a spotlight? And then the spotlight goes away. It's an alien, But some of my favorite sketches are just, oh my gosh, there's not that many episodes in all honesty. There's like maybe 2 seasons and there's like 8 or 9 episodes total. The one I watched today was he was proud to have a credit card and he was holding it up like, oh, look, like pointing at it, bragging about it. He would pick up a toothbrush and then open it and try it out and then put it back and get a new one unopened to buy. Little things. And it was just, it's amazing. I had so many fun times watching that show. So subscribe to Hulu. I mean, Hulu, if you somebody there working for Hulu sees this, feel free to give us money to keep talking about you.
Right. We will definitely take a sponsorship.
Give us 99 cents a month for 12 months. I'm just trying to really get free Hulu.
Right.
I would take a free Hulu subscription.
Maybe I would too. I'm not too proud to beg. So
no. Please give us free Hulu.
Right.
No ads too.
Do it for the children.
And if you're going to be generous for us and for the children, then give us the Hulu no ads with the not HBO but with Disney Plus package. because I kind of want to watch the new Home Alone movie on Disney Plus, but I don't want to pay like $15 to watch it once. And there's not enough new stuff yet on Disney right now. When all the new shows start coming, I know that the Kmart Green Arrow show is coming out, right, or is out. I think I'm a little too hard on Hawkeye.
So I'm just going to throw this one out here. You haven't seen
the
new Hawkeye yet?
Not yet. I haven't subscribed to Disney Plus in a while, just because I had seen everything I wanted to see. And so after there was WandaVision, and then the latest, I guess the Loki show was like the latest thing that was on that I watched. And not a lot of new stuff had come out since then. So I thought, well, the what ifs and stuff. But for a little while, they've been kind of like on a break, I guess, with content. So there's still tons of stuff. I want to go back and watch Star Wars again eventually and all that.
So, Steven, I'm going to tell you, I know that you're not a big Hawkeye fan, right? And that's not news to anybody. Steven he's not been quiet about his disdain for Hawkeye. This really, though, one of the things that Disney Plus has been doing great and the MCU has done really well is taking time to shine a light on characters that really hadn't really gotten a whole lot of attention, right? The focus on Wanda, on Vision, on characters that have really sort of been in the background a lot. And it's the same thing with Hawkeye. It's really, really, really good. I watched it Friday morning with my daughter, and we just really liked it. Number one, the casting is great. The storytelling is really good. And the young girl who Haley Seinfeld is the young lady who is sort of playing like his sidekick. She's really good. Also, if you watched Black Widow, you were introduced to Florence Pugh, who played Black Widow's sister. She's supposed to make an appearance in this show as well.
I mean, it sounds like it could be good. I think my big thing with Hawkeye wasn't that I didn't really like the character. It's one of those characters I'm not really familiar with. Right. And you pressed me so hard to watch Arrow for so long, and I was like, nah. And then I finally did at the end and caught up an entire run of the show, and then saw the last season. And I was like, oh, wow. And so I got so hooked on Green Arrow and Oliver Queen as Green Arrow, which at first, one of the reasons I think in the beginning that I didn't watch Arrow was I was a huge Smallville fan, which is no secret either. Yeah. And now looking back, Stephen Amell is, in my opinion, a much better Oliver Queen than Justin Hartley. But I was a huge, that's my Green Arrow, and when they announced a new Green Arrow show, I was like, why is it not Justin Hartley? He's like, they could just make it go on and have it be a spinoff of Smallville. That'd be amazing.
You couldn't let it go.
Yeah, for like a few years. Then I forgot why I didn't want to watch it and just never watched it. And then eventually I watched it, loved it way bit more than I ever thought I would. And that's kind of maybe the same cycle I'm going through with Hawkeye. It's like, oh, it's another Green Arrow type character. Like, how many times can I see this character? But I mean, honestly, I can't really say anything bad about him. And there was a joke in the group, I think, earlier today about how Hawkeye ran over and got the gauntlet or whatever out of the rubble. And I was like, what? He shot some arrows at some rocks and ran away, and that's what he did. That's his big moment in the movie. But I think it's the point you made a minute ago. Is like, not that he's a bad character, but he didn't really get a lot of attention. And in those movies, there was so much going on, so many other characters that how can you focus on each one of them? And so I'll eventually watch the Hawkeye show, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I know I got to give him credit. Like, he's not just a discount Green Arrow, but Bumblebee. Okay. I forgot what that's about. Like, we were talking about something and Corey's probably replying to that. Is that on, maybe it's on something like streaming on?
I think that he's saying that, I think Haley Seinfeld was in Bumblebee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So that girl. All right. I could get behind that. I can watch it for her.
Yeah.
Speaking of little girls I want to watch. That sounded creepy. People from church are watching. No, speaking of it, like Ghostbusters, I don't want to go on too long without talking about that.
No. I mean, that was like the assignment for this week
Oh
was
my gosh.
go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. That was really kind of like the goal. I knew, my wife is a huge fan of Ghostbusters. It's one of those shows that we, as a family, have watched together, I would say hundreds of times. Between the cartoon that I watched as a kid and watching the original two, it was fantastic. I had been just really afraid that they wouldn't do this new story justice. That they were going to, play with my emotions and then end up, doing a bad job. And you know what? I had nothing to worry about. I absolutely adore this new movie.
Oh my gosh, it exceeded every expectation I possibly could have had. And you mentioned the cartoon. I've been seeing so many pictures of the cartoon that, because I don't want to spoil the ending yet, but oh gosh. So Danny, we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, you do want spoilers, tell me. I haven't seen it. Spoilers, please. Okay. I thought you were like, spoilers, no. I'm going to be like, well, about that. But no, like, as far as the cartoon goes, I always wondered, I need to go watch the cartoons again, but why was Egon blonde in the cartoon? I forgot he was blonde, and I was seeing pictures over the last few days based on what I was searching in Google, and noticed that there was a moment in the cartoon that kind of happened that was in the movie at the end. But then the thing I focused on was his hair was blonde. I was like, why was he blonde in animated form? The rest of them looked like their characters on the movies. Why was this one blonde? I never understood that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I never really thought of that being a huge
deal. It wasn't a huge deal, but it's like maybe they needed to have some different, like something different. Like you had, look like Bill Murray, look like Dan Aykroyd, and here you have a blonde Egon, and it's like, why? But I mean, it's not a big deal, but it was just weird.
If that's the biggest discrepancy that you had between the live action and the animated series, I think I can live with that.
I always just assumed, because I had some of the toys when I was younger, because I believe the cartoon came out a little while after the first movie.
It did.
And so I remember having some of the toys as a kid. I had a Slimer toy and all that. But I want to get the new toys, because you have old Dan Aykroyd, old Bill Murray. You have all the older ones in action figure form with the new versions of, well, not new versions, but versions of the kids from the movie.
Just take the original toys and then put them in the oven at 350 for about 15 minutes.
Better than purple. Corey, you're right. If Egon had purple hair, that would have been a little bit weirder. But yeah, the kids in that movie are amazing.
They are. So who are like your standouts?
I forget her name, and I feel so bad because I'm just terrible with names in general. But the young girl that I talked about wanting to watch.
Yeah. So you were talking about Phoebe, right?
Yes, Phoebe.
Sort of like she is the star. It's played by a young McKenna Grace.
Yes.
So Phoebe she really is fantastic. And as people have been schooling me, because I wasn't really familiar with her, but she's done a lot of things.
She really has. I mean, I saw her in a couple of things, and I couldn't place what it was. And somebody pointed out, and I think in one of our comments on the group, that she was in oh gosh, what was it? The Haunting show, like Haunting of Bly Manor or Hill House, whatever it was. No, or was that somebody else? What show was it that I'm thinking of? It was a creepy show like that she was in that I had seen, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. No, I can't even remember what it was. But she has been. I recognize her from a lot of things. And then her brother in the movie, I forget his name too. Oh my gosh.
All right.
He was, I'm bad with names. I'm so bad with names.
You are. We're talking about it's the character Trevor.
Trevor, yes.
It's played by Finn Wolfhard, right?
Yeah,
so we know him really from Stranger Things.
Right, which is coming out again. The next one is coming out at some point.
Stranger Things 4.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that one.
Yeah, but I really even podcast, right? That young kid, played by Logan Kim.
He was very funny.
He was funny. I thought that that core group. I mean, we have to give to call out Celeste O'Connor too for kind of rounding out that young cast.
The
right?
fourth, yeah,
they really do. I thought that it was just really well done. And while I think the story of Gozer and of the Keymaster that harkens back to the very first movie, I felt that kind of everything kind of came around, kind of back where we started a little bit. That was cool in my opinion.
In some ways, I saw this movie playing out, and I knew exactly what was going to happen next, sort of. And I'm not complaining. I'm not saying it was too predictable. I loved that because it like a lot of that I think has to do with me studying like screenplays and watching movies in a different way now than as I started to write myself. And so I'm kind of looking for those details even closer than what I would have just as a fan. So I think that's a big part of it. When I saw the first chess piece move on the board, I knew exactly what was going to happen later on. I was like, first of all, we got to say this one thing to make a lot of this other stuff make sense. That in the beginning of the movie, we see Egon running around. You never see a close-up of him. He never speaks, but you see him fighting ghosts on a farm. And then by the end of that opening scene, he, essentially has a heart attack in his chair, and he's passed away. And his family comes to this farmhouse because he's left it to them, and they find out it's kind of worthless. They can't sell it, so they decide to stay. And everybody in town's like, "Oh, that dirt farm guy," because he was like secluded there for 30 years, never talking to anybody. And all the rest of the Ghostbusters team like hates his guts now and all this stuff, but they have no idea what is really going on there. Nobody believed him; they think he went crazy. But he's there to stop these Gozer and all this thing from happening again. And this time it could end the world, literally. And it almost did in the movie. But yeah, so I knew people would probably forgive him. Like, oh, okay, he was doing this. But the little moments when they were discovering everything at the farm, that was amazing. The first time you see the sheet come off and you see the Ecto-1 plate, which we'd all seen in the trailer already.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
But yeah, coming off of that, and then Trevor's there trying to fix the car like throughout the movie. Like, let me work on this, and like he'll never fix that car. But then again, you'd think, oh, okay, he will eventually, because we see him driving it through the field in the trailer,
right?
And so all these little discovering things, and Phoebe finds all these little things, like, oh, here's all the little gadgets, and then, oh, look, here's the pole. Oh my gosh, look, all the proton packs, all the jumpsuits. Oh, how do I fix the proton pack? Oh, this haunted lamp will show me how to do it. And then I'm like, okay, we know who's moving that lamp. And then the chess pieces start moving, and then all these little things. And then the first time they actually catch a ghost is amazing. And this time we didn't get Slimer, we got Muncher. I can remember fictional ghost names, but I can't remember people names. I don't know how to feel about Muncher. I didn't mind him, but I thought Slimer being there would have been fun. But I mean, I think Muncher played a part in the plot near the ending, so he had to be there for that. But still, it was
right. I understand why they chose to incorporate a new ghost instead of Slimer, because Slimer can't eat through steel bars. I think that's probably it. However, considering that everybody else from the original cast came back, the idea that they didn't find a way to, even in a small part, bring back Slimer, and that was probably the only letdown in an otherwise amazing movie.
Yeah.
I think what I really like is the overarching theme of kind of family and of reconciliation, right? You essentially had, Egon's daughter who had grown up thinking that she had been abandoned and that her father didn't love her. And it wasn't until after he's dead that she realizes that he had been keeping tabs on her, and that ultimately he had done everything. He had chosen to leave and go to this place in order to keep everybody safe.
I mean, could he have taken his family with him? Maybe. But the thing I saw was, we don't really know who her mother was, really, who Egon's wife or girlfriend or whoever was at the time. so they don't really mention her too much, I don't think. But I think it was that she was like, Egon, like, you're crazy. I'm not letting you take our family to some farm and living. No. And
Right.
that's probably what drove him there. That's probably why he probably didn't choose to abandon his daughter, but he really didn't have much of a choice or opportunity to choose, because it was save the world or have your family, which would be nothing if the world is dead. So
right. You notice the entire team that nobody else on the team for Ghostbusters went with him either, right? Like they thought he was crazy to go to Oklahoma, which I guess,
Oklahoma, of all places.
Huh.
I mean, and when you see in that one podcast takes Phoebe to that, like, whatever that place was, and they have those like sheets hanging and like raveling apart and unraveling, and you see those stone statues, I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
Exactly.
I know what that is. And he had taken those and put them there on that farm. And I was like, oh my gosh. My question is, how did he get on top of those buildings to like pull those like big concrete gargoyles and like, let me take these over to a farm? Like that. But I mean, I'm not going to question that too much, because how could you make a proton pack? How could you make ghost traps? How do you know what that stuff is? It's I pretend.
Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Blue Valley. That it had a very Blue Valley vibe. I was waiting to see Thunderbolt roll through. Like, I'll help you. Jim Gaffigan would have been funny in that movie. I was really impressed with Paul Rudd in that movie. I wasn't expecting him to be bad, but seeing reviews, everybody says, "Oh, Paul Rudd's not in it as much." It was a letdown. I thought he was going to be in there for 5 minutes, but no, he was in there a fair amount.
He was, yeah.
I feel like he was in this movie as much as Rick Moranis was in the first one, and which I think, Paul Rudd essentially was the new Rick Moranis, and that was another big letdown. So if you're expecting to see Rick Moranis, you won't. Spoilers, sorry, but I was hoping maybe he'd pop up at the end at like a credit scene or something, but he didn't, and which is fine. But one of my favorite moments, as far as comedy wise, was from the trailer. But it was a little bit funnier since you saw the full version in the actual film, where the little mini Stay Puft Man in Walmart. It was Walmart of all places. He was going in there just to get like some dinner or something, and then all of a sudden you see like the dog, like I forget each individual name of those creatures, but you see one of them in the Walmart, just like eating dog food, and you see all these little Stay Puffs so happy to kill each other. Like, yay, and pulling their heads off and throwing them down and jumping in the blender and then like blending each other. And it was just so twisted and weird, but it was amazing. It was so funny. And we get another Stay Puft scene at the end of the movie where Podcast is in the car in the Ecto-1 trying to, help. And then all these little Stay Puffs are invading, and he's sitting there like killing them all, like, getting invaded. It was, I don't know. I thought those were a lot more entertaining than they would have been. So it wasn't one giant but it was a ton of little ones. So that was pretty funny. When they bit Paul Rudd's finger, that was hilarious. Because you see him like running up like for a hug almost, and then he's like, "Ah," and then that was, I don't know, that was amazing. All those little moments, and it wasn't too comedy heavy. It wasn't like a parody of itself. It had a right blend of everything. I did at first question, though, when all the kids got the jumpsuits on. I'm like, how did they have kid-sized jumpsuits? Like Egon's jumpsuit fit like a 12-year-old girl or an 8-year-old girl, however old. It's like, how? But I just assumed that they had made their own at some point in a montage or something.
Right. I mean, Podcast put on one of those jumpsuits.
Yeah.
And it fit him. And that guy was what?
He was little.
7? He was 7. So,
yeah. I think after watching the movie and thinking about it for a while, I think Egon planned and maybe made some kid-sized suits. Because like he said, he kept tabs on his family all these years. So he knew he had grandchildren. And he probably figured they would have friends. And so he made all these little kid jumpsuits. I like to think of it that way more than them just having the materials in the middle of nowhere to make 4 jumpsuits that fit exactly, to people that they barely know.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I think Egon had really hoped that his friends at some point were going to come and join him, right? I think he had thought that Peter and Ray and Winston would all at some point come and join him. And so he made sure that he had enough jumpsuits for all of them to suit up again. That's what I really believe. That it's his granddaughter and her bunch of friends that ultimately end up suiting up in their place. That was pretty cool. I think what is also amazing is the fact that the original team ultimately shows up, right?
Yeah.
They find out. I was kind of pissed at Ray when Phoebe goes and calls him. She uses her one phone call from jail and calls him, and he kind of blows her off until she finds out that she's Egon's granddaughter. And then he kind of gets the team together that they all end up showing up at the very end when they were needed. I thought that was a really neat moment.
It was, and I'm kind of glad. I was disappointed at first that we didn't see more Bill Murray or Dan Aykroyd or throughout the rest of the movie. But then if they would have done that, it would have overshadowed the kids, and it would have defeated the point of the way they did this movie.
It would have.
So I'm glad they did it the way they did, and I was pissed at him too because it's like Egon Spengler can go to hell, can rot in hell, or whatever he said, something like that. And I was like, really? And then she's like, but he was my grandfather. He died. He's like, oh, I thought he was being like condescending, like sarcastic, like, oh, right. He died. Right. Who cares? But he really did care. And that's what we didn't know as an audience was he was like, oh, everybody else, come help. Let's go. And they went. So that was amazing. And talking about the car, though, a lot of the new features that this car had that we didn't know apparently they either had these features all this time and we never saw them in the first two films, or the kids, added these features kind of off camera. But I don't think they added them because they were surprised and shocked to see some of them. But I mean, like the one big one was the gunner seat that flips out and stuck out of the car, which I thought was great.
Yeah. They
seemed pretty surprised by that. So I don't think they did it. Would have been really cool to see Bill Murray whip out of a car and but, and then the little ramp that goes up in the car to have the remote controlled ghost trap. I thought that was great.
Yeah. So and, I think the greatest scene of the entire thing though is when we find out when Egon's ghost shows up at the end.
Yes, I mean that's the big moment.
He had always been kind of subtle, right? Guiding them and directing them from beyond, but he shows up sort of in spectral form and essentially gets to hug his daughter goodbye.
Yeah.
And he's able to kind of be there and stand with them. I mean, if there's a tearjerker grab the tissues moment, that really was it.
That was it. I mean, I knew that was going to happen. I mean, I didn't know. I had hoped. As soon as I saw, I was like, okay, this is Egon's family. They need to make Egon a ghost. But then I thought, would that be respectful or disrespectful? I don't know how to handle that situation if it were me. And, I've read interviews of his daughter, his real life daughter, who has wholeheartedly approved and loved how they did it.
Yeah.
And it was such a touching moment to not reading the interview itself, but seeing that when, like I said earlier, you see the chess piece move, you see the lamp move, you see all these little things start to happen. But when they're holding the blaster and going, and it's like the shaky arms, and you see that blue hand, that ghostly hand come in and grab her arm and like steady it. I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. And then they show the camera moves over and boom, you see his face. I'm like, how did they do this? And then he stands there, and I love the interaction between him and the original three members. Because Dan Aykroyd sits there, it's like, hey, Ray, or not Ray, that's him. Hey, Egon, sorry, we didn't believe you and all this stuff. And he just looks at him and smiles and everything. And then, but the moment he hugs his daughter, and that was the first time she had seen him ever, and he was a ghost. First time that he probably had much time with her. And then when they hugged, it was just like, oh my gosh, like it got me. And then he fades away. and just is at peace and passes. I was gonna say passes away, but he already had crosses over to the other to the afterlife. And we really should have thought that with the tagline of afterlife that something like this might have happened.
Right.
But I never really thought about it. I mean, I thought it would be cool if Egon was a ghost, but I never thought they would actually do it. And they did a very good job at it.
They did great.
It was a shame he couldn't talk. But
so
I think even if they had a
yeah. No, I was thinking the same thing. What if they had made him talk? I kind of feel like it made it much more of a solemn, respectful thing.
Yeah.
That he couldn't talk or that he didn't talk.
He just chose not to. I mean, I thought, well, you could have got a sound alike, I guess, or clipped or pieced together old audio footage. Because if you can make him, I don't know if it was his face. Because if you looked at an older picture of Harold Ramis and then looked at this ghost, it didn't look like Harold Ramis right before he passed away, or even a recent version of him. It looked like old Harold, or young Harold Ramis, I guess, but made to look old. So I thought either they take old pictures or took footage, or they could have gotten like a body double and kind of tweaked it a little bit. However they did it, they did such a good job.
They did.
And if they would have did the same with his voice, it would have really cheapened it, I think. Because then you would have this thing where it's like, oh, hello, daughter, I love you. It's not like he could have had a 45-minute monologue at the end, so what would he have said? Like, bye, guys. That would have been okay, but again, it probably would have cheapened it a little bit. I think it was great that he didn't talk. It just added. You're waiting for him to do something or say something, and it's like, oh, he didn't even say anything because there were no words to say.
Yeah, I think that
words. Yeah,
sometimes less is more. You know what I mean? And while they could have made him talk, I think the fact that he didn't really focus more on his actions. He showed up. He made sure that his family was safe. And I think that was the much more important thing he wanted to do. He wanted to finish the job.
And how appropriate was it that his daughter was the one that hit the button, hit the switch to open up those hundreds of traps?
Right.
The same way he basically died in the beginning of the movie. He was trying to do the same thing, and he kept failing and kept failing. And for whatever reason, and then all of a sudden, like this moment is here again. It's like, okay, guys, it's our shit. It's our chance. This is one shot, and it worked. And they finally got it. My question is, like, going forward, how are they going to dispose of, or where are they going to store all these ghosts in this farm? Like, every trap in that farm has a ghost in it. And then, the movie goes away. It's over. The credits. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm watching the credits. And you see a couple of little tags at the end. Trying to remember the first one, because I remember there were two. I think the first one had which one was it?
It was with Sigourney Weaver.
That one.
Yeah.
That was a good one. It surprised me that she popped up. Because she wasn't in the actual main part of the film, but then boom at the end. And then the way they're talking, it's like, oh, you're funding Ray's bookstore. He's like the star of everything pretty much behind the scenes. Like the most successful one, the most forgettable Ghostbuster from the first movie is the most successful one in the end of it all, which I thought was great. It's kind of coming back around full circle. Like, oh, look, I'm the best one now. Maybe not the funniest, but the best overall. But
they show him going back into the original firehouse building, which I thought they said they turned into a Starbucks.
They did say that. So that is, I don't know if we would call that a plot hole, or it could have been a sarcastic comment, like, oh, it's a Starbucks.
Right.
Or maybe the Starbucks went out of business or whatever, because you see Starbucks come and go constantly everywhere.
Well, here in California, not far from my house, we've got a one of those KFC / Taco Bells.
Oh wow!
So they're both in the same building. So I could imagine them having maybe a Starbucks / Ghostbusters, which I think that'd be a really neat. Come by, get a cup of coffee, bust some ghosts.
Or,
and called it a day. Yeah.
Another thought could have been that when we see him going into the old firehouse, that could have been a flashback to before the Starbucks. I'm guessing it wasn't, because then they show them pulling in the Ecto-1, and then he's looking at it like, oh, it's good to be home, isn't it? And all this stuff. So, I mean, I guess as far as the timeline goes, it's going to be one of those things now that I think about. I never questioned that until you brought it up. I was like, wait a minute, where was it? But the Starbucks is on the side of the building. Boom, there we go.
There we go. I think that it definitely is foreshadowing the idea that there could be another Ghostbusters that follows this.
There will be. I mean, well, I don't know if there will be, but that's the plan. You can tell from the story because, you have the car in there and they're fixing it up. Apparently, they're going to clean it up and you can get the thing. And then all this is coming together and it's like, oh man, like this is the old building. And I don't know if it's the actual same space or if they just rebuild it. Well, they never actually used it in real life to film. I don't think they used exteriors, but I think they built a set probably for the interiors. I don't know. But it was cool. You knew what it was. If you're a fan of the movies, you knew what it was. And then the thing that got me was that little disposal unit or storage unit for the ghosts. At the end, you hear like a ghost sound coming from it. So there's still something in there. And the people like that. Well, one of the people that we were with watching the movie afterward was like, that's Slimer in the ghost trap or in the little thing, the containment box or whatever it's called. And that could be like maybe Slimer comes in the second movie.
They've been waiting to bring him out.
That could be.
So, yeah.
But it's super exciting. And then there's the end credits scene or the other one later. And that was which one was that? That was with Janine with her coin telling a story about Egon and how he gave her this coin and everything. And they used a deleted scene from the original Ghostbusters as a flashback. So it felt like a new scene, which it kind of was for us. And that was just amazing to see her. I was like, and that's why I questioned, like, why didn't they have Rick Moranis? Because they brought her back. They brought everybody else pretty much. Even people like that aren't even alive anymore. So, but they can't bring back Rick Moranis. Maybe Rick Moranis didn't want to do it. Maybe he wasn't available. I don't know, but it would have been a good moment, I think, for him to come in. Because didn't they get together at the end of either the first or second movie? I can't remember. Like not Egon, but Rick Moranis' character and Janine. Like, didn't they get together at some point? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, they did. They had gotten romantic, but we don't know how long that lasted.
So Slimer showed Egon how to come back like Qui-Gon Jinn. I mean, yeah, I guess. Like
it was very Force ghosty to me.
It was very, because that was the most clear ghost. All the other spirits and ghosts and all that stuff that they see throughout the other movies are like incomplete, or they're missing limbs, or they're just shadowy, or in Slimer's case, it's just a green blob. And in Muncher's case, it's like a greenish, bluish blob. They need to do a backstory movie where you see Slimer as a human. I don't know who he would be, but it'd be fun to see. Like if Slimer and Muncher, they were friends, they were outlaws, and they robbed trains back in the Old West. And I don't know. My mind is like going 1,000 miles a minute thinking of all the fun possibilities. Starbucks City uses eminent domain law. OG Firehouse is back now. Well, that's one way to look at it.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's was he a human? Says Corey for Slimer. I would imagine before he could become a ghost, he was human, or he could have just been a weird demon thing. I don't know.
I mean, we don't know whether he was a poltergeist. I mean, there are spirits that were never people, right?
Right.
There's varying degrees of, spiritual energies and everything else that are out there. Not that I'm an expert or anything, but it's not all just the people who have passed on, but there are other things out there. I think that's possible that they may not actually be ghosts of people who've departed, but
that's true. And we're at first when I saw Egon's ghost, I was thinking like, okay, is he going to be in the sequel? He's going to be there to help him over time, like Egon will be the new Slimer. But then I was like, no, they can't do that. And then they deliberately show you like he dematerializes and fades away because he has no reason to stay behind anymore. Like his mission is complete.
Yeah.
And that was such a perfect ending to that movie. And I'm so excited for Ghostbusters 4. I don't know what we call it. Like they should just call it 4. And that way, like the ghost on the cover could be like, or whatever, have like 4 fingers or whatever. That would be amazing.
All right.
I wish they would have done that with 3. I wish he would have had the 3.
No, that's exactly what I feel like. I wish that they had put the same kind of thought and time and energy and effort into the third one that they put into the fourth one. That third one, I've never really heard anybody who really liked it.
No.
And I think because they really brought it and they made it more of a joke than anything else. They were trying to do something that was clever and gender bent. And here on this podcast, we're really open to different points of view and perspectives and everything else. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you gotta write a good story and you gotta tell it well. And they had a great team of actresses. They had freaking Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
The fact is, no amount of good actors is going to fix a bad script. And that was the problem with that movie.
I think the biggest, and we mentioned it last time, and all the people that have said, yeah, it was okay, but have all pointed to this one thing, and that's the fact that it has no connection at all with the other Ghostbusters movies. Like, there's no connection. It didn't happen. It's a different universe. Now, if they do Ghostbusters 4 and go, oh, multiverse, and then bring them in, that might make it okay. Then you can go back and watch it again and be like, okay, no, it's not as bad.
Right.
But I was going to do that with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, but I'm like, no, it's still that bad. But yeah, I don't know. I still haven't watched the girl one. I eventually will, just to say that I did. But
you can go ahead and like watch it just to cross it off your list. But you'll watch it and then you'll go, okay, I understand why people hate on it so bad.
But yeah, going to another direction now, like overall though with Ghostbusters, I give it like if I have to give it a score, I would 5 stars, 10, whatever, perfect score. It really irritated me. I was going through some Rotten Tomatoes critic reviews. I don't know, never do that because they're always going to take the best thing ever and tell you it's the worst thing ever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's the audience score is like over 90-something%, and the critic score is like 63 or whatever, and it's. Some of them, it's like they ruined what was good about it. And like, no, they made it better. I argue that this movie was as good as number 1, as the first movie. It's hard to pick a favorite between the first and this one. It's that close to me.
I think that you wouldn't have a third one if you didn't have the first one. And I think that the first one is still tops in my book. Mm-hmm. However, they complement each other really well.
Yeah.
That's where I am in the whole mix of things, and so you can't throw that one out. But I do feel like I do feel like it pays homage to it really well.
It really does. If I had to put them in an order, I would say 1, 3, then 2. And not that Ghostbusters 2 is a bad movie, but I liked Afterlife a lot better. I mean, but then again, with 2, they kind of do complement each other, and they don't really talk about the story from number 2 in the third one. They don't pretend it didn't happen, but they don't really address it either, because it didn't have as much significance in it than the first one did. It was just a follow up, like, oh, what are they doing now? Let's check in. There wasn't a huge epic and really important thing to say in that movie, but it was good to have that movie. I definitely like 1 better than 2. I mean, not that 2 is bad, like I said, but it's definitely a better movie. But I noticed we talked about Ghostbusters a long time there.
We did, but that was kind of like our focus for this week.
It really was.
I do know that you got a couple of clips ready to go to show, right?
Yeah, a couple of little screenshots of one Facebook post in our group And this is where the church people are watching. Warning: the following segment features comments, but no. Yeah, this is the part that's gonna be funny. Now, I believe this is another one of your posts that you shared with a picture of Captain America, and we'll show that up here. What's a Marvel quote you could also say during sex? And you say you were burdened with a glorious purpose.
Right.
So I've got a bunch of comments that I screenshot, and now there's a ton more comments probably now. So if you want to see these comments, and if you're not watching on the group, you can go over to Facebook Taco. I almost said that. Facebook.com/groups/Between the Pot and the Hard Place, and check out the post and find that post. And some of the comments that I thought were really great. Higher, further, faster, baby. It's getting really weird here.
Right.
Our good friend JD that does chimes in on the show sometimes. I
Yeah.
don't even know who you are. That was one of my favorites. With Thanos, like I'm still worthy. I thought that was a good one. I just don't understand. It's Captain America there, which I liked that comment because the original post had Captain America.
Yeah.
It was just funny. Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too quick. I will catch it. That was another interesting one. We're in the end game now. That's definitely a good one. Then Corey says, "You don't want to see me when I'm angry." I don't. That would be an awkward situation with Hulk and everything. Where are we at here? There's so many here. There's a couple more. There's two more. This one was your comment, Peter Tingle. That'd be amazing. I mean, just all of a sudden, like you're in there, and then Peter Tingle. I was like, well, that sounds good. And then I had threw one of mine up there too. Is with great power comes great responsibility. And I originally put another comment, but I forgot what it was already. But I deleted it because it had to do with Superman. Oh yeah, up and away. But I was like, wait, that's not a Marvel quote. When I first saw that post, I was thinking of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man when he's trying to figure out how to do the web shooting.
Right.
But those comments were too specific that wouldn't have been funny in this post. Like my favorite was like, "Go web, go!" But yeah, that fly web, up and away web. I guess that is a Marvel comment.
Yeah.
So yeah, up and away.
I will say that before anybody thinks that we're running some kind of porn site or something, that really is the only inappropriate joke, meme that I've posted since that group started.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
It is funny.
Fun. So
it's not. I mean, I haven't seen too many of like super inappropriate comments to that. I think there was one, but I didn't share it here, obviously. But I mean, I love posts like that. Not just like I don't go to Facebook like which posts talk about sex, but anything that's funny. Like you take a situation and pair it with a different situation, and they don't go together at all. It creates some fun humor.
Yeah,
it's sort of like Jeff Foxworthy style humor, And maybe.
I'll be honest. I was expecting some people to make some negative comments about that post.
Yeah.
I was kind of bracing myself for it. I'm like, oh, we're going to lose some people. And if anything, we ended up getting more followers.
I think we did. I mean, I mean, not like 35 or anything, or 35,000 followers, but it definitely didn't hurt us. I don't think. And I think the people in that group have joined, like, they're like-minded people. A lot of them are a lot like us.
Yeah.
That, we love this. That's funny. We know what we like. We like a lot of the same things. Except for me, I don't like Hawkeye, but everybody else does. No, I can't say I don't like him. But yeah,
you just got to give it a try. That's all I'm asking. Give it a try.
I mean, I'll definitely try it. I've tried everything else, and nothing you've told me to watch or suggested that I watch. None of it has been bad.
Do it for Haley Seinfeld.
I mean, I could do that. I don't know why I thought you were going to say do it for Barry or do it for Iris or something. I don't know. Because,
Steven, run.
Okay, I'll run to the TV or other side of the room to subscribe to Disney Plus. But yeah, I want to talk about Flash for a minute or two before we, closed up. At least to get it in there somewhere.
Right. I'm glad we've kind of made our way around a little bit the long way to Flash.
Yeah.
I've kind of been hating on Flash at least the last 2 seasons. I've been really, really underwhelmed by a show that I've loved for a long time. I've been waiting for it to get even passably good again, and while 2 good episodes in a row isn't necessarily saving grace, I've been really happy as far as with the writing. I think the balance with the characters. So yeah, I really enjoyed these last 2 shows.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at that is like it's probably over the top because it is a crossover, basically. We saw this past week, Black Lightning comes in near the end to help Barry because he's going crazy because he finds out that, spoilers, Joe West has passed away. And he does not remember this at all. He even gave the eulogy at his funeral, doesn't remember a bit of that. My guess is Joe's not going to stay dead. He's not going to come back Egon style as a ghost. I think Barry is actually hallucinating. And we are seeing the point of view of Barry. Like the audience is living the insanity with him, which I kind of like when they do that. They really have you get invested in the story. Like, oh crap, what happened to Joe? Did he fall on a banana peel? Or did Zoom come back and kill him?
Right.
Like, what
well,
happened?
and I really kind of sat there for a little bit going, did Joe die?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Did they kill him off last season? I know that there had been that issue that he and the police captain had gone off and had that adventure together. I'm like, did he actually die, or but I feel like we're being gaslit right along with Barry.
Yeah, and I like that they're doing that because then there's no like dramatic irony that we know what's going on, but Barry doesn't. Like, and we're like, hurry up and figure it out, stupid. And we're the stupid in this situation. Like, we can't figure it out either. Like, listen,
Yeah.
I love that because it makes the character a little bit more relatable, and you're there with him. And I think it makes the story more interesting in the end.
I think the truth is that Barry he's an unreliable narrator. That really is the truth. Seeing things through his eyes, and he's the one being manipulated. We're being manipulated right along with him, and that's really true. I almost feel like they could have called this episode Barry Allen and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
oh my gosh.
We're talking about in one day, all of these terrible things happen to him, right? Any one of them might cause somebody to lose it.
Yeah.
I would
lost it.
Yeah. I mean, Star Labs gets shut down.
That's what got me. I mean, I was more shocked at Star Labs getting shut down by the government than Joe dying. I'm like, Joe, aw, Star Labs, no. Because like you had seen that building over the years heal. Because that one little explosion from the particle accelerator explosion, it slowly every year got a little bit more repaired, a little bit more repaired, a little bit more repaired. And then now they have a garage, and that's it. They're like, oh man, what they gonna do now? Oh my gosh, it's such a good episode. The story is great, and I know I didn't see I saw a little teaser for the next week, but then Batwoman I think is coming in for part 3, I want to say, or part 4. The final part 5, is when we have Mia Queen come back, and from the future. And I'm thinking, I didn't see any kind of promotional material for it, but I'm thinking that last episode is going to have Barry's kids come back. Because he talked about like going back and forth and visiting them in the future earlier on with Iris. And I'm glad that part 2 still didn't have Iris get too heavily into the Flash stuff.
Right.
She's like, oh, my paper, my website. Yay, me. I have my own independent story. I'm a strong character without having to interfere with all this. Everybody can have their thing. I hope that when that crossover, this Armageddon special is over, that the writing doesn't go back to, let's talk about our problems and work it all out. And, oh, you're the bad guy? We defeated you? It's okay. You can go away. We forgive you. I hope they don't go back to that. because that 2 years in a row they let the villain go away and forgave them. No.
Yeah, no consequences whatsoever.
You can't. I'm more excited to see what happens with Reverse Flash when he comes back. We know that Tom Cavanaugh once again comes back, and I said once again like it was a bad thing. No, I'm excited to be Reverse Flash again.
Tom is great,
and
he is so good.
The episode description says something along the lines of Barry finally has a chance to end his like rivalry with Reverse Flash once and for all, or whatever, but at a great significant cost, or something like that. And I'm thinking, I don't know what to think of that. I'm thinking, okay, well, Joe stays dead, and then Reverse Flash is a friend, or he's gone, or it's got to be something big for him to struggle. Like, do I let? Like, oh my god, I don't know what to think of it.
Well, so I think here's what my take on this whole situation.
I like Corey's take on the situation. Barry's just like in the bedroom. Wow.
Right.
People in church are watching.
I know. Yeah, Barry. You would think that Barry would be able to, get Iris pregnant.
You would think
it shouldn't. They shouldn't have to. They live by themselves. They have no other kids. They wouldn't have a whole lot of distractions, right?
Until Ray Palmer comes to visit. But I mean,
right.
That's one day. You have all these other days. There's 6 more of them.
Right. How long have they been married?
What is it, like 4 years? Or 3 or something like that? 2, maybe. I don't know. But it's been at least 3 or 4 years. They've had plenty of time.
Right.
Plenty of time. And didn't they even go on vacation like a couple of years ago before they fired Hartley Sawyer? Then that last season that the Elongated Man was in, Barry and Iris went like traveled over to like the Bahamas or something like that, then came back like a week later. It's like, what did you do during that time?
Right.
Just going over documents?
They've certainly had opportunity. So
they were reading memes on Facebook,
right,
and forgot to try. And it's a tricky storyline too, because like I think that's the running, not joke, but that's the thing. It's like they haven't conceived a child yet. Can they? Obviously they can, because we see their kids from the future.
Right. The kids from the future keep coming back. Maybe they're in vitro,
or maybe they're adopted. Maybe they're not really their kids, and that's the interesting thing. Maybe when Nora was originally erased from the time, that the other Nora just happened to look like her, and it wasn't really their kid. And the same with Bart. Maybe it's not really their kid. Who knows? That would be a letdown, though. Honestly, if they were adopted.
Yeah, I think that canon is that they're more than capable of, conceiving children. I think that's probably more along the lines of, you've got 2 people who live very complicated, busy lives. They just don't slow down long enough to enjoy each other.
And maybe that's the point. Maybe Barry's just going too fast in other ways. Well, yeah, that's kind of what I meant. We'll just leave it at that. His speed is too much.
Right.
Who knows? I'm excited for part 3, which is coming out on Tuesday.
So I'm gonna actually throw out my guess about things. Right now, it feels like Despero is acting in the best interests of Earth. Right?
Seems that way, yeah.
It seems like that. We've already kind of heard his side, that he's trying to save Earth from the fate of his own planet.
Yeah.
However, Despero is listed as a villain, as a bad guy. And so I get the feeling that while on the surface he wants people to think that he's a hero, that he's there to protect them from the Flash, I think that ultimately he's serving himself.
I had the thought that he was making Barry go crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what future he saw, but I think something happened, and Barry wasn't really responsible, but he looked at it and thought, well, Barry, that's his fault, because I'm a villain. Barry's the bad guy. I'm the good guy. And that he's making all this stuff happen, sort of like Eclipso and Stargirl. I think that's what's going on. I don't think Joe's dead. I think that the people that Barry, I hope it's not just all this is a mindscape where the whole special, the whole crossover thing is just Barry's memory or not his mind playing tricks. He's really in a coma and all this isn't real. Like, I hope that's not what they do. If they're going to do this, I hope that he's making all of them go crazy and see things that aren't there, like an Eclipso from Stargirl, rather than just having Barry having a bad dream. But yeah, I think there's going to be some. I don't think Joe's dead. There's no way. Because why would they make such a huge death happen in such a, like, oh yeah, by the way, he died. Like, what? I guess the reaction would be genuine. Like, we would be as shocked as everybody else, but still.
So I do believe that there was something going on with the actor, though, too.
It could be. But hopefully, like, he's not, like, done with the show, like, forever. Hopefully, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll come back. Or they can at least mention, oh, yeah. But who knows? If he does die, like, and we don't even get a burial scene or anything, you know, which I get why they didn't open the season up with, oh, yeah, funeral for Joe, because they wanted it to build to that point. But I'm interested. I hope the writing doesn't go back to the normal stuff after this special's over. I mean, I'm excited to see Ryan Choi come in to become the new Atom. And I'm also sad to see Ray Palmer no longer be the Atom.
I was really hoping that he would come back.
Yeah, like permanently, like stay on Flash. Like it's not like you can have too many. Like all these shows have like 20 people on their teams anyway. Why not? You know, I mean, Chester and Allegra are okay. I think they're getting better too. They're still not like, they still don't feel like, I don't know how to put this.
No, just rip the Band-Aid off and say it. I still don't like Chester.
I don't mind him. They don't feel like part of the family. They feel like newly adopted cousins or something.
Right. I think that you could replace Chester with an AI computer system, which is the question I got is, they have Gideon. Why not use Gideon? You know, but
Gideon's smarter than Chester. But then we see Gideon's dead now. Because when they, are raiding the Star Labs, they have to erase every single piece of information in Star Labs database so that the Flash's identity doesn't get revealed. But, which is kind of dumb because every episode he's like, I'm the Flash.
Yeah.
And then now, oh God, the cops. No. I'm not the Flash. But that meant wiping Gideon away. There's no more Gideon. At least as far as he's concerned. Because there's the Wave Rider Gideon on Legends and all this other stuff. But I always think that version of Gideon on the Flash was the first Gideon, the original Gideon. And all the other versions are from the future. But, well, she's from the future to begin with. And I was always kind of disappointed that they didn't get the Legends voice actor for Gideon for the Flash, which I get why, because the show came on after the Flash. But still, I was like, that voice is so universal. It'd be so amazing. Give her a bigger paycheck. Come on. She deserves it. She's amazing. Anyway, I'm excited. I have been watching Legends as well. I need to start watching more Batwoman, but I've been watching Legends. I like Legends. I mean, it's still kind of dumb and goofy, but I like the way they're doing it.
I think that again, if you walk into Legends of Tomorrow and you know that it's going to be goofy and crazy, and you fully embrace that about the show, and you're not looking for a serious kind of superhero program, then you're gonna find it enjoyable. I think that's the way you have to kind of look at it. I had not been super crazy about Batwoman. I kind of muscled my way through season 2. However, season 3 for Batwoman has been fantastic. I feel like everybody's stepped it up. And in this season, we have the this introduction of um, there's a new Joker, there's a new Poison Ivy. Um,
Wow.
who else? Killer Croc.
No, wasn't there a freeze at some point, or
Uh,
talking about it at least?
at least the freeze gun has, or
Yeah.
that all of that stuff has made an appearance. Um, I've been really happy, and again, the lady who plays Alice, Rachel Starsky,
Oh my
um,
gosh,
she is absolutely fantastic. She
she is
really is good.
fantastic. I would watch her. I just watch her, not on the show. Just like go to her house, watch her
Just
through the window.
casually look at the window. Yeah,
Like lay like this with my feet kicking behind me, watching her all day long. It's not
yeah,
creepy, I don't think.
not creepy at all. Yeah, not stalkery.
I would ask her permission before I look through her window. Like, hey, can I look through your window and watch you like as you like run around your house and clean? No, okay, I'll leave. But if she says yes, then it's not creepy. It's just weird. But yeah, I've liked Batwoman a lot. I think I would love to see her in her own like series of some kind. Maybe not like DC or comic book related at all, but she is so good that I would love to see her in anything. And that's how I feel about the actress that plays Gideon, the live action Gideon on Legends. She is amazing, and the whole relationship with her and Gary is just, I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you've seen the latest episodes, but I mean the story's not that great. It's not like any better than any other season, but
Bless you.
excuse me, that was I came out of nowhere. I got a dust. I think there was some dust drift over. Anyway, now like the main villain basically is Gideon. I mean, in a way, an evil Gideon that Bishop had wiped back to default settings because he created his own Wave Rider, and then he changed his mind, and now he's a good guy. It's confusing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good, and I've loved Matt Ryan's character. So Constantine's gone, but his new character is really interesting, and I kind of like that. But I don't want to go too much into Legends because it's kind of the same old thing. We've talked about it 100 times before. I still love it, but really, it's the same kind of thing. There are no major story arcs in that show usually. I mean, there are season arcs, and there are this little thing and this little thing, but no like life altering things that happen in Legends from year to year that really change the course. People leave the show, people come into the show, people get replaced, and that's the thing. Legends isn't really about it's more of a cartoon than a serious show.
Right.
Is one of the things I like about it. Some seasons are better than others, but I really like this season a lot. Not as much as 1 and 2. 1 and 2 were like the best ever, and then after that, they kind of drifted a little bit. But
I really feel like the first 3 seasons, I think those were good. After 3, that's when I feel like it made a real deliberate shift away from being a legitimate superhero team to being more of a comedic kind of show.
Yeah, and I think they're gearing up for Nate to leave the show as well. I haven't read anything, but the way his story is playing out, he's going to go live with like I don't know what you would call her, the Zari from like the original Zari, OG Zari, whatever they call her. He's going to go into the totem and live with her in there. But then he's building up that episode and saying like, I'm going to live there. I'm going to live there. It seems like it's building up to be like a goodbye moment. But then he's like, I'll still commute from the totem to be on the Wave Rider or to help you guys. I'm like, oh, so he's not leaving? I don't really know. But I don't know. I hope they bring in some different characters at some point, either this season or next season. Because having a live human Gideon is interesting. I like that. Experiencing certain things with Gary, probably not the best, but whatever. Could have been me, but
talk about a missed opportunity. My hope had always been that Legends would be a show for characters that we want to know more about, but whose shows have ended. right?
Yeah.
There are characters from Supergirl that I think could use
Oh my
more screen
gosh.
time.
Yeah.
Definitely from Black Lightning. Why not? Arrow.
That's one of the things I love most. I want to say it was season 3 when Reverse Flash was there. But it wasn't Tom Cavanaugh. It was the original. Well, I guess they both were the original. But that season was amazing.
Yeah.
It was Reverse Flash, Damian Dark, and who was the
Malcolm
third?
Merlin.
Yeah, Malcolm Merlin. All 3 of those crossovers from other shows that were main villains in Legends. That's what made that season so great.
Yeah.
And Vandal Savage by himself was amazing too in the first season, I think it was, or maybe season 2. But still, I mean, lately it's been like, oh, it's Bishop again, or now the Legends and Gideon are the villains, which I think are clones. Because remember, Bishop had that people printing machine, which is weird. You just push a button, boom, here's a clone. But yeah, it's been. I think that's a big part of it. Like if they had more crossover with old shows, like maybe not have Supergirl herself, but maybe have like Dreamer be a legend, or have Brandy be a legend, or any number. Like Jimmy Olsen would be fine as a legend. And then on other shows like Arrow has got a ton of characters. Diggle could be a legend. I think Diggle's maybe too big to be a legend. I think he's too important or too major of a character to be a legend. But, the new Green Arrow could be a legend. Mia Queen, why not? And William would be a good asset on Legends, I think. Even though he has no powers, he has no fighting. He's smart. And he could be the new Ray in terms of like the genius and the intelligence on the ship. But hopefully they go in that direction before they close the show and end it for good.
Right. They just need an injection of characters that we're already, I think, emotionally invested in.
And they tried that with Wally West, but that was the actor's deal. He decided he wanted to try something else and didn't want to really act anymore, which is, nothing wrong with that. I don't have any issues with that. But hopefully they try more of that.
Yeah.
Because most of the characters on Legends, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of before. Never even heard of, much less like loved. The Ray Palmer's The Atom was probably the one I was most familiar with. Captain Cold and Heatwave, and which I forget McRoy's name was Heatwave. He didn't really go by his superhero name or villain name that much. Just it's Mick. Like who is that guy? He's a bald guy with a fire gun.
They used it. I think that there were people like I forget who was the one where they joined together.
Oh, Firestorm. Yeah.
Firestorm.
That was the big one. Yeah, that's true. I did know a little bit about Firestorm.
Season 1 had the Hawks.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I didn't find them to be all that great.
No.
But they were characters I think that people would be familiar with.
Yeah, for sure. They were JSA members, I believe, in original JSA. That was there were so many good characters in that show, more than I thought, honestly. Looking back, Firestorm was probably my favorite. I really wish Robbie and Mel would have stayed on for Legends, because that would have been phenomenal to have him on that show, but he didn't want to be on the series. And I mean, that's fine. I don't blame him. I mean, he doesn't owe anybody anything. But it would have been not that the guy that plays Jax, it was bad or worse, but we had seen this Firestorm already, and I wanted to see that evolve more. But unfortunately it didn't. And then when Professor Stein died, why couldn't they find another smart guy to keep Firestorm? Even if those two guys left the show and they wanted to keep the Firestorm character, they could have. They could have just got another old guy that was smart, or even a young guy that was smart, and then mixed him with whoever to make another Firestorm. But maybe one day we'll see a new one. And I think our first recycle of a character on Legends, at least, is going to be No, Flash. I mean, Flash was or would be Legends technically. The Atom, which I don't know what to call that now because the Atom's not a legend anymore. So I don't know, or if Ryan Choi will come back to be the Atom for more than one special. He needs to go. I think that's what they should do, and maybe that's why they did it this way. Have him go to Legends, and so the Atom is back on Legends again, but a different guy. That's the best place for him, I think.
Right. I was surprised that they introduced the Atom again, and then he just kind of disappears.
Yeah, he's gone. Like, where'd he go?
Right.
Because Barry and Iris still aren't getting things done with Ray not there. Because now Barry thinks everybody's crazy. And who can get in the mood when you think your adopted father died?
Right. It's definitely a mood killer.
And your wife is mad at you for not remembering it. It's like, let's put that all aside. Come here, honey. Let's go to the bedroom. Like, no, that's not gonna happen. Her kids are their kids are just gonna vanish. Like, hurry up, we're dying. It's gonna be like the Marty McFly moment in the gym when he's playing the guitar. His hand starts disappearing and he starts to fall over. He's about to be wiped from existence, and all of a sudden his dad kisses his mom. It's like
zing,
starts playing again.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
do it for the children, Barry.
Yeah, do it for the children. For the kids. I think we've covered pretty much. That's the voice Barry uses too. Well, we've covered pretty much everything we've set out to cover, I think.
So on a side note, I do want to just kind of say something. Jordan Fisher is the guy who plays Impulse.
Mm-hmm.
Right, one of the son of Barry and Iris, at least on the show.
And he's there with you right now.
We know that on the show he had sung for their the renewal of their vows.
Yeah,
that was at the end of last season. It shouldn't have come as any surprise that the guy can sing. What I found out though is that he's currently playing the lead role in the musical Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh wow!
Right now, so the guy is a legit Broadway talent. So he's not just playing that role as Impulse, but on Broadway currently with a musical that I absolutely adore. So I thought that was really cool.
I think I might actually. I mean, I could go to Broadway, but if they did a musical of The Flash, I'd probably go watch that. I don't know. Just imagine like the whole thing is just a musical of Flash. Like, we are the Flash. We are the Flash.
Okay, so I think it's hilarious that you bring this up now because in Hawkeye, one of the hilarious parts of the show is that Clint is in New York City. He's in New York City during Christmas with his kids, and they're watching the Stephen Rogers musical.
Okay.
Right? It's essentially a musical version of the Avengers fight against Thanos.
Wow.
and fighting Loki. And it's bad. It is it's really, really bad. But there's Clint with his arms folded, and he's like, that didn't happen. Right? Ant-Man wasn't there. Right? He's he's out there just telling them the way it really happened. I think they all ended up getting up and walking out.
I mean, well, I would probably get up and walk out too because it has Jeremy Renner in it. But no, I couldn't do that here if I watch it at home. What am I going to do? Leave my house? Like, oh, I got to leave. Can't watch this.
I mean, I guess you could turn it off. But I like it. What's great about it is they're not afraid to laugh at themselves, and I think that is the great part about it.
I like that. Now that's what I loved about Legends too. So I mean, I love that comedy aspect of it. I love including that, and I'm probably gonna love. I think I'm afraid of liking Hawkeye more than Green Arrow. Overall as a character, because I'm like, Oliver Queen, at least the CW version, was such a darker, more, kind of standoffish, kind of like kind of not brooding little like Batman type, but like sort of. And then now I'm afraid to like get involved with another character. Not like get involved, like I'm gonna go hang out with him or anything, but still, I don't know.
You don't want to get emotionally invested in him.
And a new one, because then I'm like, oh, I like you better. You have new toys, and then he has old toys. Like, I like your new toys better than his. Bye.
Steven, I think you're perfectly capable of liking two characters at the same time. It's not an either or proposition.
I could play with both.
You can.
Well, these, not Jeremy Renner and Stephen Amell. I'm not going to play with them, unless they want to come over for for a card game. Maybe.
Yeah,
I played that with them.
Yeah. Next week, I'm going to see you're going to have your little Jeremy Renner figurine.
I'll have one, like it'll be Bert because he's so terrible. It'll be on fire live, like
right, real to life.
Like, look, now it's a Ghost Rider figure. But no, I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy it when I watch it eventually. I don't know when that'll be, but I know it's soon. Maybe.
I'm gonna give you a week.
Oh, geez,
I'm gonna give you a week. You called me out last week about Ghostbusters Afterlife, and you were right. Right.
It's a good movie.
I went and did my homework, and I watched it, and I loved it. I'll probably go and see it again.
I probably will too. I'm thinking about going Tuesday or Wednesday to see it again.
Spider-Man. Yeah. Spider-Man.
That's going to be a special episode or something. We're going to have to do like a 2-day episode. No, it'll definitely be a good. I think that week we do Spider-Man will be like all Spider-Man the whole time. I don't think there's going to be any Flash or Batwoman or anything, because that movie is going to be so epic and we're only about 3 weeks away, which is insane because I believe it's December 17th. I want to say
December 17th.
And wow, it's on a Friday. I want to go see it day one, which I haven't done in a while for a movie. I think I might have seen the original Spider-Man day of, but yeah, I don't know what to say because I saw the teaser again at Ghostbusters, and oh my gosh, it made me so much more excited to see it on a huge screen. Just those little clips that we got. I'm like, I haven't seen Spider-Man on a screen like this since the first Spider-Man movie. Because Spider-Man 2, I might have seen Spider-Man 2 in theaters, but not 3. But maybe 3. I don't remember. I didn't see any of the Amazing ones or any of the newer ones in theaters, I don't think. I did see Endgame and Infinity War in theaters. So Spider-Man was in Civil War, right? Yeah. I saw some of those Avengers movies in theaters, but like as far as like a main Spider-Man movie, I haven't seen in theaters in nearly 20 years or something like that. So I'm excited. So excited.
It's going to be good.
And I hope Tobey Maguire is in the movie, but not Andrew Garfield. But then again, I hope he's not in the movie either, because then I could tell everybody, I told you, you should have expected too much. But I kind of want to be wrong on this one. Because I don't expect him to be in the movie. I expect, if anything, we see the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man suit and a stunt actor and no speaking, and just going and then like zipping back up or something like that. I don't think there's going to be a major like, hi, I'm Tobey Maguire. You might remember me from such films as Spider-Man. I don't think it's going to be like that. But maybe it will.
Yeah. Are we doing the dance?
Now dig this. And he's like, do, and it punches Sandman like, do. I defeated you once already. I killed you once. Do. Come on, baby.
Doing finger guns.
Oh, that was terrible. I think Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is better than Spider-Man 3, almost because of that. Like if you cut the whole movie out.
I feel bad because Andrew Garfield is a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
I rate him as my least favorite Spider-Man, but he's a great actor. In fact, right now, there's a movie on Netflix called Tick Tick Boom. I don't know if you're familiar with the musical Rent.
Yeah, well, not too much, but I know what it is. I know a little bit about it.
So he actually it's actually, this is really the heyday of biopics about things. In this case, they do a biopic about the writer of Rent,
Mm-hmm.
and so kind of telling his story of what he went through to ultimately get that thing produced. Um, but it's starring Andrew Garfield. He sings, which I didn't see coming, and he's really good at it. So
He's a good actor. I mean, he really is. And I did enjoy him as Spider-Man, but he just wasn't my favorite.
yeah,
And I kind of joke about those movies as much as I joke about Hawkeye. But they really weren't bad movies. Like if Tobey Maguire's Sam Raimi movies didn't exist and Tom Holland and the newer Sony movies didn't exist, I would think that those Spider-Man movies were good. They just weren't better than the other ones.
no,
honestly.
I
And
don't
look,
find them. I don't find them to be equally well written.
no, and I think the big part that made, I think it felt lazy in a sense, and that wasn't anyone's fault except for everyone that wrote it. But then again, the studio pressure could always be like the reason they write something bad.
Right.
And that's what happened with Spider-Man 3. Put Venom in it. Put Venom in it. Put Venom in it. I don't want to. Do it. Okay. Failure. We're not going to make your movie anymore. Like, well, it's your fault, studio, for pushing him to do it. Venom should never have been in Spider-Man 3. But anyway, that could have been the case with Amazing Spider-Man. But the part that I hated the most about those two movies was at the end of the second one, I believe, we find out that Oscorp built every villain in the Spider-Man universe. Pretty much. Like, you have Doc Ock, you have, like, all these things that, like, references to all these villains, and it's in Oscorp tubes and jars, and it's like, why? Why? I would have been surprised if Andrew Garfield's Venom was created in a lab, like in some of the comics, I think.
Right.
But I was never a fan of that version of Venom. Or Topher Grace. I mean, I like Topher Grace, just not as Eddie Brock. But yeah, that was a fun show. And watch Ghostbusters if you haven't already seen it. Watch it twice. Just stay in the theater and duck behind the seat, so when the guy comes and sweeps, you can just be like, all right, and then sit back down again and watch it a second time. Just don't tell him we told you to do it, because pay for your movies, folks.
Yeah, don't chip anybody.
Although, I do gotta say, it's so easy to steal movie watchings, views. I don't do it. I pay for my tickets, but every time I buy a ticket at a movie theater, then they have these little kiosks that you can pay at, where you can just go up to it and type the screen and then swipe your card, and you don't have to interact with anybody. And then you take the ticket and you go up to the guy and say, "Hey, I'm going in to see this." And like, "Oh, you already paid? Go ahead." They don't even look at it. So
Yeah.
you can just take a McDonald's receipt. "Hey, I bought a ticket." "Oh, you already paid? Go ahead." But don't do that. But you could. It's easy. But don't do it. Anyway, it's not like the old days where they give a flashlight and it's like, "Let me see your ticket, sir." But anyway.
I've always held on to my stub just in case.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
You're right. I've never been asked to show my stub.
Never. I mean, there was one time where I had a stub and I walked towards the hallway, to go off to my theater, and there's no one at the little thing taking the tickets. There's supposed to be a guy like ripping the ticket, and this is right before all the digital phone tickets started happening. And there was no one there. I had paid and I had the ticket, but I was like, well, oh well. And I just went on to watch the movie. And had it been anybody else, like, they could have just walked right up and went in. Nobody would have checked. They didn't care. But I mean, I can't do it. I mean, I could sit at home on my computer maybe and do a version of that. But then I always either go see the movie or buy the DVD right after.
Right.
So I got to support a little bit of it. Unless it's Jeremy Renner. Then I'll just borrow somebody's Disney account. But yeah. One comment from Corey here that about Spider-Man, they shouldn't have been reboots. How many times does Uncle Ben need to die? Exactly.
Maybe one more time.
And McDonald's is expensive though, and it is. I do want to see Tobey Maguire as Uncle Ben. I think that would be really cool. But mean, he'd be age appropriate for it. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully there's no major Peter Tingles. Peter Tingles aren't good.
You're just trying to get a rise out of people now there, Steven.
Peter Tingle. But yeah, anyway, we'll just leave it at that. Peter Tingle.
Yeah.
Words to live by.
Gosh.
I guess. But yeah, it's been fun. So hopefully we have a lot more to talk about next week, which we will. We always do. But there's no big movies between now and next week. We just talk about Ghostbusters again. Watch it a second time and see what it was like. But maybe by this point, I'll have watched Hawkeye, so we can talk about that a little bit. Hopefully,
you'll thank me. I promise. Give it a shot.
Maybe. We'll see what happens. I mean, I might have to run to the bathroom because my stomach might turn while watching the first episode. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure it'll be great. Maybe.
We'll at least have something to talk about.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. I'll talk about my trip to the ER and how I had to have my eyeballs removed. And no, it can't be that bad. I mean, it can't be that bad. It's not the girl Ghostbusters.
No, it's good.
I trust your opinion.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad that I finally, gotten your respect after all these years.
They're like, oh, how dare you? That's like, oh, yeah, you trust me? And they're working on Code 8 too, or Part 2. I don't know what you would call it. Code 9. I don't know what
Season
it's called.
2.
Yeah, Season 2, I guess. I'm excited for that. I don't know when it's going to come out. And then they've renewed Heels for a second season as well, which is amazing. But I think we might have mentioned that already.
Yes.
But just reminding people, get Stars now. And watch the first season. And then get the Hulu because we want them to pay us money. All right. So that's going to wrap things up for us, I guess, this week. Our Twitters and all that's going to show up again right here on the little close of the show with the little theme song made by Scott Schiaffo and edited together by Corey. Check out the YouTube page or channel and all the shorts the short clips that we have coming out from that.
And subscribe
And create at least three YouTube accounts and subscribe from all of them. And then every friend that you have, do the same thing.
Right. We need some kind of pyramid scheme. So if you have 3 friends, if they have 3 friends.
Yeah. And if you are responsible for 99 subscriptions, we will send you $1. $1 to keep for your very own dollar. Don't even have to share it with anybody. It's yours. Just pay postage.
Right.
50 cents for a dollar bill. Okay, I'll send $2. Our 1 millionth subscriber on YouTube, I will give $100 to. Tomorrow we have like 1 million. It'll work. All right. It's been fun. So have a good week, and I will try to suffer through Hawkeye.
Okay. All right. Take one for the team.
I'll do it.
All right.
I'll do it. All right. Have a good week.
All right. You too. Have a good night.
You too. See ya.